Hello guys, hope you're doing good. So in today's video, we're looking at the Generation 3 Forester by Worktuff gear. Alright, so the Forester is designed as a general use camp knife. It's patterned around the Puko style design. As you can see here, has a 4-inch blade. The overall length of this knife is 8.7 inches. We went back to thinner stock, so this is 3.5 millimeters thick or 0.137 inches. It's a saber grind with a drop point design, and this one is made of K329 steel with an HRC of 58 to 60. It has multiple handle options. This one has the black G10 with some very nice texturing, and it has a recessed lanyard hole here for your paracord. So compared to other Puko style knives, this one has a very nice handle. It's quite wide, it's thick enough, and it fits very well in the hand. It has these cutouts here for pinch grip, so it's very comfortable in all sorts of grips. So I think that's an important feature for a bushcraft or camp knife. Alright, so here's 3 of the available options. So as I mentioned, the black G10 with this ribbing, super nice. You have this natural yellow G10 with this check ring, so that's another very nice handle. And you have the jade G10 with a check ring as well. So most of them on this drop will come with a saber grind, but there's going to be a limited amount of these higher convex grinds available as well. So one feature I really like about the 3rd generation Forester is that the geometry has been greatly improved. So you can feel here, it's quite thin behind the edge, which is going to make it a great slicer and a great woodworking knife. Alright, so let's see how sharp it is outside the box. Super sharp. Pretty amazing. Alright, so let's do some cutting tests. So let's see how well it slices. We'll start with this paracord here. Very easy. It's effortless. You can even double it up. It's a great slicer for sure. Let's move on to this plastic nylon type of rope. Easy. Some natural quarters, some sizzle rope here. Very easy. And this thicker rope here. No problem. Alright, so let's see how it does with woodworking. So it bites in the wood very easily. Very easy to make some notches, even in this very dry wood here. Alright, so let's go outside and do some more testing. So the Forester is a pretty compact knife. Overall only 8.7 inches with a 4-inch blade, so it's not a chopper, but if you use the lanyard correctly, you can still use it for snap cuts. Cut some branches. Using this technique, you can even chop through some medium pieces of wood. So this was a pretty dry and seasoned piece of maple, so pretty tough to chop through and put a lot of stress on that pretty thin edge, but there was absolutely no rolling or deformation of the edge whatsoever. So it did take a while, but if you're patient, you can still use the technique to chop through a piece of wood that you can use to prepare your fire in the outdoors. So one better chopping technique to use with a smaller knife is baton chopping. So here you use a baton to whack the spine of the knife, and you can pop off some pieces of wood from the notch pretty easily. It does put some lateral stress on the edge, but there was absolutely no problem there. So this technique is definitely quicker and more calorie efficient way to split pieces of wood. So even though it's a great slicer with a pretty thin edge, this knife is still excellent at harder tasks like batoning. So sometimes when it's been raining for many days, you need to get to the inside of the logs where it's dry to get your fire going. You can definitely use this knife to baton pieces of wood that are 3.5 inches across. So once you've split your pieces of wood into quarters, a good technique to use is to try to break them in laterally like I'm showing here. It's a safe technique. There's much less chance of hurting yourself. So this does put some lateral stress to the tip of the knife. So you definitely need a knife that's tough enough, and the Forster can handle it no problem. It's very controlled, and you can break your pieces of wood to very fine kindling to start your fire. So one clear benefit of the very fine edge is that it makes it excellent at woodworking. Here you can make some very fine curls when you want to prepare your feather sticks, get your fire going. So it really glides through the wood, no problem. And again, you can easily control the depth and make some very paper thin curls that way. So that's an excellent thing to have for the outdoors. So the high saber grind combined with the secondary convex makes it very good at woodworking. You can see here it bites into wood effortlessly. It's very easy to make some notches for tent stakes, for example. Overall, it's a great knife for woodworking. And the tip is quite robust. You can use it to drill your piece of wood, prepare a divot for a bow drill. So let's test it out a bit more. So to test the tip further, I decided to stab into this very seasoned and very dry piece of wood and torque it from side to side to see how the tip will handle it. The tip is ground a bit thicker to make it more robust, and as you can see here, has absolutely no trouble with that job. So obviously the Forster is not a fighting knife. It's a Puko design and doesn't have a finger guard, but it's still pretty good at stabbing here this old log, and it can penetrate the wood pretty deep. Feature I always want with my outdoors bushcraft knives is to have a 90-degree spine. So as you can see, it does spark a ferro rod very well. So the spine on the Forster is very sharp. It can easily produce a huge shower of sparks with a proper ferro rod. That way you can easily light your feather sticks and get your fire going. So another reason I like having a 90-degree spine on the knife is that you can use it to scrape. You can scrape bark off your piece of wood, or you can scrape tinder to prepare your tinder for fire. And that's going to allow you to save your main blade. You can use it as a secondary blade of sorts. The geometry of the primary grind and the convex edge makes it an excellent slicer. You can use that to your advantage. You can bend a sapling and easily cut through it, as you can see here. That's a pretty decent sized sapling, and very easy to cut through branches to prepare your wood. Another really important feature of a camp knife or a bushcraft knife are the handles. So I've designed these handles to be very ergonomic. They're very comfortable in many different configurations. You can hold them the hammer grip and the reverse grip, etc. And they're all very comfortable. There's no hot spots on these handles. So that makes it very efficient when you want to use power cuts like this chest lever cut, for example. So overall, the Forster Gen 3 is an excellent bushcraft knife. I think it's a great improvement over the second generation. The edge is more refined. I really like the K329 steel. It's a semi-stainless steel, so it doesn't require as much maintenance as carbon steel like SK85, but at the same time it has a very high toughness and pretty good edge retention, making a very balanced steel. So some people prefer Scandi grind knives for bushcraft, but I find that these high saber grind with a secondary convex work very well for bushcraft tasks, but at the same time they're still excellent knives for camp tasks. So I've been using this knife for food prep as well. So in conclusion, the Forster Gen 3 is a great bushcraft knife, but it's also a great camp knife. It's not a big knife, so it can easily be used as an ADC knife as well. So the next batch will drop on September 3rd on the Worktuff Gear website. So if you're interested, you can go check it out. I'm going to add the link in the description section of the video. Thanks for watching, guys.